Kyle Larson is perhaps one of the best NASCAR drivers on the grid today. He's already won a Cup Series championship and could be winning another one this year. He's just 32 years old and still has years of motor racing left in him. But as it turns out, Larson is not aiming for a future in NASCAR. He wants to go international. During Kevin Harvick's Happy Hours podcast, Kyle Larson expressed a lot of interest in wanting to take his talents to Formula One. While he is doing well in NASCAR, he wants to see how well he will do in open-wheel racing. Here's what he said about driving in Formula One in the future. "I would love to do it, and it sounds like hopefully I'll get to it down the road. I think it was an option this year, I just have so much going on. It's like something that I need to plan probably a year in advance or more. I would like to, but honestly I would rather do it on one of those open test style deals, like after Abu Dhabi when other drivers are on the track too. I think that driver swaps are really cool, but you don't really have like a bar. You don't have a gauge of where you stack up to others who do it. It would be fun to do that with Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris or whoever, but I would love to strap in with 19 other cars out there and really see where you're at on the speed charts. Obviously, I don't think that I would be the best, but I would hope to not be last. I think that would show how good American oval racers are and unique. Or if I was really bad, then it would just show how bad we are." Earlier this year, he did get a taste of what it's like to go open-wheel racing. This year, he participated in the Indy 500 for McLaren. While Larson did have a positive qualifying, he was not able to stay ahead during the race. Despite starting 5th, Larson only managed to finish 18th in the race. But the Indy 500 has given Larson a link to F1, not just because of the similarities between IndyCar and F1, but also in teams. McLaren is one of the top teams in Formula One. Given that Larson already has a connection to McLaren, the team could help Larson enter the sport. And you could enter one of the best communities in NASCAR by just hitting that subscribe button. In an earlier episode of the Happy Hours podcast, McLaren CEO Zach Brown spoke about the possibilities of giving Larson a shot at F1. We've been chatting about it. Kyle, as you can imagine, definitely wants to do it in between our schedule, which goes from February to December, and NASCAR's schedule, which is February to November. Finding that window, we did that with Jamie Johnson and Fernando Alonso in Bahrain with Hendrick Motorsports. That must have been about 4 or 5 years ago, and that was a lot of fun. I'd love to see Kyle in an F1 car. It is something that we've discussed and something I think will happen down the road. Given the schedule of Formula One and NASCAR, it's almost impossible to give Larson a test session during the season. This is why Larson is more interested in participating in the test in Abu Dhabi, which takes place after the final F1 race in December. This test usually is only for rookies, but technically Larson is a rookie in F1, given that he has never driven the car. So he will be allowed to take part if McLaren decides to give him a shot. While Larson is a great driver in NASCAR, F1 is a completely different sport. F1 cars generate a much larger amount of downforce that allows the cars to attack corners at higher speeds. Unlike NASCAR, F1 tracks are only road courses and street circuits. So if Larson does decide to enter F1, it will take a while to get used to the sport and the car. Given the current contract situation in Formula One, Larson will not have a chance to enter the F1 grid next year, but he might have a chance in 2026 or later. There will be a few seats free after that. However, it is unlikely that he will drive for McLaren, as they have locked both their drivers for the long run. But Larson might have a chance with one of the smaller teams, such as Audi, Alpine, or Haas. A few weeks back, a debate started when Larson claimed that he is a better driver than 3-time F1 champion Max Verstappen. Here's what he said about Verstappen. "I know in my mind I'm better than him as an all-around driver. There's no way he can go win the Chili Bowl. There's no way he can go win a cup race at Bristol. There's probably no way I can go win a Formula One race at Monaco. But I think I'd have a better shot doing what he does than him doing what I do, just because of the car element. That's what gives me ease and confidence that, I know I'm better than him. Maybe not in an open-wheel Indy car or Formula One car, but that's one discipline. I think I would beat him in everything else. You can quote that." Kyle Larson thinks that he can beat Max Verstappen in any sport apart from open-wheel racing. To understand if he can actually do this, let's understand Verstappen's career so far. Max Verstappen is the youngest driver ever to enter F1. He was only 17 years old when he started racing full-time in F1. A year after racing in Toro Rosso, which is Red Bull's junior team, he was promoted to the senior team in Red Bull Racing, where he won his very first race with the team. Last year, Verstappen had the most dominant season in F1 history. Out of the 22 races that were held last year, Verstappen won 19 of them. This is a feat that has not been achieved by any F1 driver. He is considered to be the best F1 driver today. While Kyle Larson had a lot to say about the possibility of him beating Max Verstappen, the F1 driver just had 2 words to say in response. That's fine. Verstappen is completely okay with Larson saying he can beat him. End of the day, the 2 drivers drive in 2 different sports. But can Larson fix that by getting into F1? For every racing driver, F1 is the goal. It is often considered to be the pinnacle of motorsport. But even if Larson does manage to make it to F1, he will probably not be able to compete in championships, as there is a large learning curve here. He can't just jump into an F1 car and hope to challenge Verstappen. F1 pundit Tim Coronel had some words to say about this debate. If you say that, then I don't think you know what's going on in the world. Besides that bubble he's in America. If you think you're better than Max Verstappen, I'd actually really like to have a match between them, because you're going to lose. Max in those GT cars also goes bellowing in the sim with everything. Kyle, sorry, but I think you're wrong in life. Then you haven't understood what driving a car is at all. Tim Coronel believes that Verstappen will still beat him in a motorsport outside F1 as well. GT racing is probably the most neutral sport where both Larson and Verstappen will have a shot to compete on equal terms. But even then, Tim thinks Verstappen will be dominant. NASCAR driver Kyle Busch, on the other hand, thinks that Larson is a much better driver. I would say that you have seen guys do better going from our realm to the other one. I don't know if it's a pure downforce thing or not, but those guys seem to just drive pure beyond the limits of the car, and the car will take it and they can stick. Over here, you have to have a lot more finesse, so you just kind of see guys not understand the finesse part and where the grip is without just going over it, Busch said. To answer your question in short, Larson, probably got a better shot than Max Verstappen. Oval racing is a complex form of racing. Unlike road courses, there's a certain kind of technique that's required to be successful in it. This comes with experience and training. NASCAR drivers spend years in the NASCAR Truck Series and NASCAR Xfinity Series before getting into the Cup Series. Both F1 and NASCAR are 2 sports that require 2 different techniques. But one way to put this debate to rest is iRacing. Have both Kyle Larson and Max Verstappen take part in an iRacing race to see who is the better driver. But this won't be necessary if Larson is able to get into F1. Do you think Larson will be able to get a chance to test a Formula 1 car anytime soon? Post your thoughts in the comment section below.